and welcome back to the course on Tableau. In front of us we see the dashboard, the beautiful customer segmentation dashboard that we created in the previous tutorials of this course. And today we're going to be putting this dashboard into a storyline. So just to remind you, what we have here is a map of the United Kingdom and how a certain bank, how its customers are distributed across the different regions of the UK. Also, we have a distribution of the same customers by different balance bands. So these are $10,000 bands or £10,000 bands in this case. The distribution of the customers by age, so 5-year bands. Then we can control the bands here if we like, and as we click around they adjust. And also we've got the gender distribution of our customers and the job classifications. And once again, this dashboard is fully interactive. We can click around, we can see what's going on with the different demographics, and that's why it's called a customer segmentation dashboard. So what we're going to do today is, as we discussed, we're going to put this dashboard into a storyline and provide some insights, a story, tell the readers or the viewers, the people we're going to be presenting to, tell them a story about this bank and its customers and how they differ from region to region. However, before we proceed with today's tutorial, I'd like to ask you for a quick favor. I know I've already brought this up before, and if you have left a review, thank you so much. However, if you haven't, I would really appreciate it if you considered leaving a review for this course. It's very easy to do. You just have to click this button up at the top, and then in this window you just select the number of stars you think the course deserves and perhaps type in some comments. It would really help me understand how you rate the course and if it has met your expectations, and also it will help other students who are considering taking this course to understand what to expect inside and whether it's worth their while or not. So I would really appreciate it if you could do that for me today. And now let's get on back with the show. So how do we create a storyline? Well, the first thing we need to do is click this button at the bottom, which says New Story. So we'll do that. And now you can see a new type of working space. So it's not a worksheet, it's not a dashboard, it's a storyline. What you can do here, you can't create anything inside, but you can drag elements in here. And unlike a dashboard, you can drag worksheets and you can also drag dashboards into a storyline. But the main difference is that you can only drag one item. You can't combine items here. So as soon as you drag a second item, it automatically replaces the previous one. And so here we can drag our dashboard in here. You got to pick what you want to drag into the storyline, and then once you've added it, so let's say if I want the map, then I can add another point in my storyline and add the gender, and then let's say I want the distribution by balance. That way I can create a story and talk through these points one by one. But in our case, we will be working all the time with our segmentation dashboard, and we will just be showing different cuts of our member base in this storyline. So let's go ahead and drag the segmentation dashboard in here, and right away you can see it underneath this storyline control panel. So the first element of our storyline will be the overall representation of our customers. So it's kind of our customer baseline, and we want the user or the viewer to be able to see what the bank looks overall in the whole of the United Kingdom. And so here we need to add a caption, and what we're going to type in is, I've already got it prepared, this bank's customer baseline. There we go, that's done. All we want to show our viewer at this stage. Now we're going to create a new point, and we're going to drag the segmentation dashboard in here as well. Now what we want to look at is the one of the regions of the UK, and we're going to start with the largest region, or the region that has most customers for this bank. It's England. So we'll just click on England here. And as we discussed previously, the insight that we want to convey here is that there's a lot of white-collar workers in this region. Predominantly, they are this region. The customers in this region are represented by white-collar workers. Perhaps that has something to do with London being the economic center of Europe. So we're going to take a new caption and we'll copy it in here, and it says England is mostly represented by white-collar workers, 70%. That's all we wanted to show. So when you do get to this point during a presentation, what will happen is you can start drilling into this dashboard if it is required. So obviously you're talking about white collar workers, so you might want to click on it and then see how the dashboard changes, and perhaps look at what are the male white collar workers up to, and look at their representation by age bands, and then look at their representation by in the higher end balances, and so on. So it's up to you once you get to this point, but to start with, to get you started or to create a segue between the previous slide and this slide, you just need this little caption over here. So now we're going to update that so it's saved, and instead of creating a blank point, we're going to duplicate this chart, and that will save us the trouble of dragging the dashboard. There we go. So we've duplicated the tab, and now we will look at Scotland. And as we discussed here, the age demographic is completely different, much older customers. The gender is also different, predominantly males, and the job classification, blue collar and other very few white collar workers bank with this bank in Scotland. So let's copy the caption and see what it says. The caption here is larger, so if you move away, you'll see this scroll box up here, and now we can read the caption. It says customers in Scotland are predominantly males in their late 40s and early 50s, late 40s and early 50s. Representation of white collar workers is low. Okay, so that gives us some conversational topics. So you might want to click on blue collar workers. Once you open up this dashboard, you'll see that 95% of them are actually male. And so the other 44%, these are mostly represented by females. You might also want to look at the older demographics and see what their balances are distributed like, and so on. So that is what we're going to convey for Scotland. And at this point, I would like to show you another cool feature of Tableau, and that is annotations. Now, it is a very simple feature, and a lot of the time, people get to learn it right away, so you might already know it. But if you don't know, not a worry, we'll look at it now. It's very easy to use. Let's say on this chart, I want to point out something specific, that there is a lot of workers or customers in this region in their early 50s, so between 50 and 55 years old. What I want to do here is right click on this bar, click annotate, and add a mark. And we'll just keep the default for now, so I'll just change the size to 10 because that's a bit too big. And what you'll see is this arrow up here and this box with text, which you can move around. And it's basically telling the reader some additional information. So once you get to this picture, so to this slide, you will see this annotation which you hadn't seen before. And that is very powerful because it attracts their attention and also gives you some cues, talking cues. So what we're going to do is now we're going to change the text here, and we'll say high representation of customers in early 50s. Maybe center this. So that's what we wanted. Maybe change it a bit so that word fits. So that attracts attention and gets can get you talking about this specific element of the customer segmentation. So the age groups. You can definitely add them for other elements of your visualization. So if you want to talk about balances or gender or something else, something that might not be obvious or something that you really want to attract people's attention to, then feel free to add annotations. So we'll just update that and we'll duplicate it again. So now we're moving on to Wales. And in Wales, we obviously don't need this anymore, so we can delete it. And as you can see, it stayed here, but it's deleted here now. In Wales, our main insight was the balances. So here you can see something different to the overall baseline, and we will see it even better if we change the balance group. So we're going to adjust this parameter and change it to $15,000 or pound bands. And here you can see that it actually increases first and then drops off. So if I unclick Wales, in the baseline, you'll see that it always drops off like that. For Wales, it first increases. And so let's type in our insight for Wales. The insight for Wales is going to be data for Wales shows an above average representation of mid-sized balances. There we go. So we can update that, and perhaps you can add another caption here. So annotate, mark, and we'll say above average representation. and here we'll say size 10. And also centering it is a good idea sometimes. So that's how we will deal with this region. And once you're in here, you can start clicking around and understanding what else is going on if you need to. So once you click these balances, for instance, you see that the distribution by age changes. So you can tell how these people with the abnormal representation of balances, what they are, who they are, and you see that they're mostly in their early 30s, they're mostly female, and they're mostly white collar workers. And finally, let's move on to Northern Ireland. So we're going to update that, and we're going to duplicate, and here we'll get rid of this caption, and we will select Northern Ireland. Right away, our insight here was that younger age groups and predominantly female. So let's copy that into our caption. Here we typed in Northern Ireland is mostly represented by female customers in younger age groups. Update that, and there we go. So that's all done. We can add another annotation here, but I will leave that up to you. Another thing I wanted to show you is that here the parameters are independent. So Tableau has thought this through very well. If you change the parameter control on this element of your storyline, then it won't change on this element. So even though it's the same dashboard we're dealing with, ultimately the actual parameter controls are independent. So feel free to change them around and show exactly what you want in every single part of your in every single region of the United Kingdom. So you might want to show it like this in this particular case. That is totally up to you. So there we go. Now what we see is a storyline. So when you're presenting, you can start with the UK, then you can move on to England, then Scotland, then Wales, make some comments, points, move on to Northern Ireland, and conclude your presentation. That is how you create storylines in Tableau. Very new, powerful feature. Hope you enjoyed this tutorial. And just as a reminder, I would really appreciate if you could leave a review. It's very simple to do. It'll take you 30 seconds and it will help me out a lot. Thank you very much. I look forward to seeing you next time. And until then, happy analyzing.